Members?
Or
All right, that is correct. We are in module number 4. Welcome, everyone. Yes, my name is Manjeet Singh, and so here's the plan for today. We will go a little bit of deep into specific skills because, see, so far we have been looking into, let's say, if I look into the snapshot here, and let's go to full screen. So in module 1, we started looking into, okay, we looked at ChatGPT and some basics of LLM. Then we went into module 2, what it means to me, right? I gave some example of like, hey, if I'm a product person or engineering or design or whatever work you do, how it impacts my role. So we looked at some examples, and then in the last one, so if I do a recap, we looked at how the LLM works. I showed you a diagram of, let's say, ChatGPT, how it is trained, we talked about tokenization, and then when you ask your question or a prompt, how it gives you the answer, right? So if I have to summarize, I think our last chapter, number 3 or module 3, here's a few things that I think I want to retain and number 1 is, this is AI and this is a tool. So treat your LLM as a tool. They are not a replacement for your own thinking, for your own creativity, okay? So always remember that. Don't outsource as you use it, okay? The second is never trust AI. Check output. When you look at the results, then is like, does it make sense? Or check with second AI just to kind of see if things are good or not. Hey, I think that my screen stopped, right?
yes,
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you and I don't know why that happens. Let's see. Oh, when I go to the full screen, I think that's what happens. Okay. Yeah, so always check the output, and then this is not a replacement for your own brain. Anything as you start to use more of these tools or these models, doesn't matter which tool do you use. Remember, if you are taking it and putting it on anywhere on, let's say, on social media or at your work, you are the owner of that piece, right? So take ownership. Don't just blindly copy paste and then be surprised. Oh, I didn't think about it. So just skim it, and you don't have to, and you will get better as you do more and more of that. We looked at the different limitation across models, right? I always have these 4 or 5, window. I'll show you again, and then as you're going from ChatGPT to Gemini to other ones, all of them have their strengths and weaknesses. So try which one works for your particular use case, your personal use case or the use case that you have at work. And then once you are happy with that and like, hey, for image generation, this model is good. For text generation, this model is good. So then as you use them, you'll find out what is the limitations and which one I should use more. Okay. And today I'll go more deep into how we can continue to keep learning. How do we retain information? What are some of the things that I have found helpful? Because it is a lot to learn here. And where do we draw boundaries into, like, for given my role, what should I learn? Like, what's the start point and what's the end point? Because should I learn about how the LLM works, or should I learn about how to apply LLM to my use case? Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit. So I thought, in every module, we will pick 3 pieces because we only have about like 50 minutes, right, to real share. And then, so here are 3 pieces for us today. This is what you will learn. I'll talk about 4. When I think about there's so many skills we can learn, how can I group them into 4 buckets? And we will look into what are those 4 key skills, no matter what your role is. If you learn these, you will be in a good spot from the people, and that's what I'm saying here. It will separate you from others who are not learning or at kind of slow at learning. And then what I'll do is we'll look at one example of each of the skill, and then I'll show you what tool I use, and then and what is alternative tool for that. And then I put together one slide that I'm super happy to how to learn fast, and a little bit of do a kind of a how to learn 10x faster. I don't know if it's 10x or not. Sometimes I feel it is 10x, sometimes I feel it is 5x, but it's definitely made my learning faster. So I think this is a good plan for us, and I think you should get good learning in kind of rapid learning in the next 50 minutes or so. Okay, are you guys ready? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Let's get some energy going. Yeah. Who is ready? I only see one thumbs up. Only 2, 3. Need more. Here we go. Awesome. Okay. So these couple of use cases I talked about earlier, and I think one thing about retaining information is, you have to revise and you have to refresh. I'm not going to talk about this because these are very starting use cases, right? If you take a text and then you ask your AI model to summarize it, it's very obvious. I think you will start to see these use cases show up in every application, whether you are using Facebook, whether you are using your Office Word document or whatever you are using. I think these are getting commoditized. Some of these use cases, wherever there is a lot of text data, you right click and you say summarize. Or you will see this generate option showing up in everywhere, in your Gmail or in your in Word doc or so. I think so. Generate, summarize, extract, and classify. The example of classify is you show it a couple of different choices and then ask which choice is best. All right, or let's say you showed it. Hey, the example I have here is like in my role, I have to look at a lot of customer feedback as hundreds of thousands of customers using my product, and then they give feedback, and I'm like, some feedback is positive, some feedback is negative. How can I synthesize that, right? So then I can ask AI to classify it for me. Okay, so just as a reminder, you should think in terms of the buckets. Okay, so this was starting bucket. We already covered this, and what I'm going to do today is now further group our learning into these 4 buckets. So here's the thing, no matter what your role is, you have to basically learn these 4 areas of AI. Number 1 is, how do you use AI to search things? How do you use AI to do better deep search or more discovery? It's not just about, you go to Google and it's like, hey, what's the next restaurant should I go to? That's, to me, is easy. Anybody can do it. As you learn AI, you need to be better than that, right? Better than, like, I call it, like 90% of the people. So we look into some of examples, and then because these AI models are way broader than just the keyword search, they can take your entire sentence and give you the and work as a thought partner for you, not just as a search engine. Okay, that's number 1 bucket. We will look into that. The second is build and create. We have seen some example earlier, but today I'll show you how to create an app, even if you're non-technical. So we'll look into 1 or 2 examples. And on the right-hand side, by the way, there's some tools here. We will not have time to go over all of them, but I'll at least cover 1 or 2 from each bucket. Third one, I'm a big fan of, how to automate my own work, whether, let's say, prepping for this course or working throughout the week for my office work. I'm always in lookout for what can I automate. And what I mean by that is anything that you do repeatedly, same thing, and it's very predictable. Always think about how to automate that. And in my kind of work, I've been spending a lot of time around AI agents, and that's kind of one of the method of learning. And we'll not have time to cover AI agents in detail today, but I will have a dedicated session for us into AI agents, because that's where I've been kind of living and breathing. Build these agents for CRM apps, right? That's what we do at Salesforce. But when you think about kind of the automation, there's a couple of other things like, okay, if you use multiple tools, how do you connect them? That's where APIs, integrations, and then I think third bucket is also super important. The fourth one is, and as you can see, I made a typo here. Let me fix it. And anytime I go, my screen loses. Don't worry. So let me bring it back. So this is the fourth bucket is, how do you build communities and how do you start engagement, and then how do you grow, right? And no matter what you do, whether you're a solopreneur or you work for a company, and then once you have built things, you want to share, you want to launch, you want to go to market. And I think the world we are entering into, you need to slowly, I would say, learn some basics of how do you get your idea out. If you don't get it out, nobody cares, right? There's an old saying, if a tree falls into a forest somewhere remotely and nobody noticed, did the tree even fall? I think, and so how do you become, then you don't have to be a social media expert, but I'll tell you some of the basic thing that everybody should be doing in today's world. You don't need anybody's permission. There's so many channels out there. Anything you have put your hard work and sweat, be proud, share it. And AI is making it easier and faster. And then we'll look into one or two examples here. That's I think going back to a little bit of your kind of personal brand, or I'm not a big fan of word personal brand. I think if you do the right thing consistently, it will automatically happen. And then we'll look into those examples. Okay. But here's the challenge. I think learning without a more of a plan goes kind of a lot of wasted effort. And think of, you say you go to the website or LinkedIn and you keep scrolling and keep, it's too much for the brain. You will not retain that information. I see a lot of people. I met with a friend and then we were talking on this topic, like, hey, how do, he was like, I've been reading from about a year and still my learning is very shallow. It's and then he showed me his, and I was like, okay, tell me, what would you do? And he had like almost 500 bookmarks into his LinkedIn feed. And then he's like, he has the same thing in the Twitter. And I'm like, okay, hang on. That's not how you should be learning, because it's like, it's all over. So let me break it down for you. How I see about kind of learning and what I found helpful is number one is kind of more targeted learning. Think about what I want to learn, because these days I'm working on agent, so I want to learn about agent. Now within agent, it's very broad, right? Say, and if you're hearing the word agent, don't worry. Think of anything you can. Your work is what matters to you in this week. Let's take that as your goal. Don't go too broad, okay? And then see what minimal project you can pick up for that learning. Okay, that's number two. And then step back and then see, what do I know and what do I don't know today about this particular subject, this particular, the book that I'm reading or the project that I'm doing. And I would say that's how you should be starting. And then having a little bit of plan around it. And best way that I found is whatever I'm learning and dot starts to connect, starts to share. The more you will share, and then more you will learn, and then going back to, you will start finding right-minded people. You will engage, community will build, personal brand will build. So it's a snowball effect. Okay. Are you guys with me so far? So enough talking. We will look into the AI now. So this is kind of, just to recap. Here's the 4 buckets. No matter what role you are in, we'll look into research and discovery. We'll look into kind of building an app, and then okay. So let's spend next 15 minutes into looking at these examples, and then I'll stop for some Q&A, and then we'll go it from there. Okay. So research and discovery. My two favorite tools for research and discovery is one is Perplexity, and anything that I'm kind of search about it is, let's say, I was thinking about this question that how networking is going to evolve in 2 years from now, and then, for example, this was my query. It's always a good idea to give a role, right? This is the basics of prompting. We talked in the, I think in the starting from the module 1. You give it a role, you give it an what do you want to do, and then ask it to maybe give in a specific format, right? So I'll not spend too much time. Perplexity is, I think, the easy user interface. You come here, it's telling me what I want to ask. The only, I think the thing is, if you drop down, you keep it to auto. If you don't know, hey, that's kind of auto, right? They decide which models to use behind the scene, because Perplexity has multiple models, open source and closed source, and that's how they optimize their cost. But for the large part, now that you see, they also started to show, based on my history, what kind of questions I may be interested in. Just like Google search, right? It shows you the kind of autocomplete and then others. So the beauty about this one is, let's say I'm curious about learning. Let's see about, hey, what's happening in this generative AI space, right? Let's say, what are the top 10 things I should learn? Should I learn in Gen AI space? It's a very generic query, but I'll give you an idea. And I'll take this as an example to build an app as well for us, right? So can we build an app that can teach us? So let's, so same thing, as you can see, now Perplexity also start to show some sponsored ad, because they also have to make money. That was not here before. That's a new thing I noticed. So it's very, it's structured response for us. We see what are the terms in here, and then right, very basic. You all kind of get it. But let me show you a better way to learn. Is like you learn. Let's say you read something, and then it's like, okay, what sort of questions I might get about that topic? Okay. So another tool kind of I use is basically Claude, and Claude had one inbuilt feature. It's called Artifact, and then what Artifact is, they build this kind of a Java layer within this LLM tool, and it can create your app within the tool. Okay, so we'll see that how powerful that feature is, and then specifically from learning standpoint. Okay, so let's do one thing. How many of you use, let's say, flashcard to learn? I think I find that's a good way. Once you, let's say, read a topic, then okay, let's think about what are the kind of top areas. So let's say create 20 flashcard for me. Card for top learning in AI. Or let me make it, I think, more specifically generative AI. So this is straightforward, right? So what I'm doing in here is I'm asking AI to look for some of the common term, and we talked about some of them. For example, what is the prompting, right? Few-shot learning, or what is the fine-tuning? We talked in last week. Okay, so this is all cool. But now, let's say I want to create this as an app. Can I have this my own AI learning app? Like I can have it run it somewhere. So I can do it within the tool. So just I want to show how powerful these kind of tools are getting for us now. So what you can do is I'll just do a follow prompt. Please create a web app, which is web application, using these flashcard. Okay. So this is a different prompt, and now as you can see, my UI, what it's doing, it has changed. It has started to write code for me. Okay. Now it knows, right? Because I'm asking it to create a web app, so it's not generating text directly. It took my prompt, and then it asked the model, instead of giving me a text response, it asks us like write a code. And these days, all these models have this, the coding interpreter behind the scene, like they know the Python, they know Java, and then so in this case, I think it's writing in kind of JavaScript here. So very soon, like you can count up to maybe 10, and let's see what kind of app it provides us. So this app, one thing to note here is anything that is happening here, it is happening in the memory. It's not like stored anywhere permanently. But in real world, when you build this app, you will put, host them somewhere, whether in your local laptop or in a cloud. And the beautiful part there is in here is they have this kind of React.js, which is kind of framework, and it is able to also create this UI for me. How beautiful is this? Give me thumbs up. Are you able to follow me along? If not, put in the chat. Okay. And we can test it out. Like, what is generative AI? If I click onto this, this is how flashcard works. I now can see one by one. This is another. I mean, there are many patterns to learn. There are many different styles to learn, and you need to figure it out which style is best for you. And I think I remember I may have shared. If not, I'll tell again. What I found out is I'm a slow learner when I read. It takes me a long time. It's hard for me to finish a book. But if I listen to things, then I learn very, very fast. And a couple of years ago, when podcast and I think the YouTube and when good content started to come, then I realized I'm an auditory learner. So I consume that content a lot, and then my retention is better. I don't get bored. I can do it while washing dishes or in the gym, and then right. So that's another kind of flexibility. So figure it out. Some people, they tell us like, oh, this YouTube video is too slow. I can read it in like 2x of the speed. So I think you need to figure it out. How do you learn fast? Whether it's the reading or listening or maybe or watching video, or there's so many. And the good thing is all of that has been democratized. All format is available to you. These days, if you podcast, you can find a audio podcast, video podcast, a transcript of that. You choose it. See what kind of world we are living. You're not dependent on one, and it's beautiful for creator as well. They just create it once, and then they convert into all those different formats, right? So that's kind of what's happening. So now let's say I created this app, and if I want to take this code and save it permanently, I can do that, right? So if I click on the code, I can copy this in here. I can download, run kind of a local server in here, and this becomes my permanent one learning. And there are many tools like this. I'm showing one of them, which is built into within this like chat interface. Okay, and ChatGPT has some flavor of this. If I do the same thing, I think ChatGPT will not be able to create this one. Claude has better this kind of React implementation, but ChatGPT is good at many other things, right? So that's where I always kind of keep these pinned, these tabs, keep switching between them and keep trying. Most of them are free. For me, sometimes I pay. New feature comes, I pay it for a little while and then kind of disconnect. Okay. All right. Let's look at some in here. So I think the one key takeaway for you is so far, Google search was the skill to differentiate yourself, and but now it's not just kind of keyword-based skill or searching. I would say these more AI-powered search, and then this prompting, and then able to look at the results and decide whether that result is good or bad. A combination of prompting, and I call it eval. Those are the two skills that will separate you in all the work that we are doing, right? Because in here, whether I'm doing research discovery or whether this example we saw to create the app, end of the day, it's me deciding what I want to build, and that's where I think the the human plus AI will continue to make better sense around productivity improvements and efficiency improvements and so on and so forth. Okay. All right. Let's look at maybe another one or two example. Another thing I use is like sometimes creating this diagram. Let's say if I'm reading, let's say I said reading a big book, really, I find it boring. So I can take a part of that and then I can ask it to, summarize it for me. So let's try that out, right? How that helps. So again, let's use Claude. Okay. Do you have any favorite book? If you want to put, maybe I'll find that quickly and shouldn't take long. Put in the chat if you have any book for us. Okay. Otherwise, let's do one thing. Let's say the power of habit. Okay, let's do. Okay, so let's take this one. So I'll come back here, and so I can say I don't know what's the chapter 3 in this one. I'm hoping that some this large language model knows some part of that. Create a concept map. My screen is visible, right? Okay, cool. Create a concept map of learning from the book. Okay, and I'll say The Power of Habit by Charles. And anything that we learn, right? It's our mind creates this map, but if we every book has sort of set of concept that author wants to share and teach, and then but even before you start to read a book, if I can get a conceptual map of like, okay, what are the core ideas? Then when usually, at least in my case, when I read through the book, sometime I will skim reading, it makes sense to me. Okay, so this is hard to read, but let's say if I go full screen, let's see what happens. Okay, so let's go full screen. And my screen share is back. But anyway, so if you use this map in here, I think Claude, I don't know if I cannot change the color. This is black. This is, I think, of your tree map. And it took out these key learning from the book, because this book has been out there for a long, and these models already know the core concept. So there's like habit loops, keystone habit, golden, and I found this technique pretty helpful, because now I can take a specific chapter also and can have the follow-up conversations, what was happening in chapter 3. And maybe I would say, if you're reading a more STEM type of book, or let's say for reading some AI paper, for example, then it's even super powerful, because these days, if you take let's say the top AI paper from this week. Okay, I think this is a better example. Okay. And what we will do is we'll take one of these AI papers. A lot of them are kind of getting released these days, and then we can get a copy of that, and it's like, okay, help me understand how should I make sense of that paper. I'm not from technical background. Then what I'll do, I'll take that paper, go to Claude or ChatGPT, and then it's like, hey, can you create the concept learning diagram for me? And it will basically do the same thing, just like we did the example with the paper. Okay, so let's say I think more recently, if you go into this one, okay, so this is the paper. Okay, let's open this up. And as you can see, right, how long this is, It has a lot of technical details, a lot of references, and then you don't have to worry, right? So what you can do is either you can kind of download this, because, or you can copy paste this as well. Because these language models have a lot of context window length, as we were talking last week. Think of model has this context. Anything I put in context, and if I ask question, the model remembers it. You guys remember the concept? That's super important. We discussed last week, the context window and how this model knows, like, whether I'm putting text or audio or video. Now they understand all this multimodality, and they will be able to answer my questions. Okay, so let's see. This may be too big, but I'll try to paste it here. It's telling me let's see. The good thing about it is when you put in something in Claude, it take this as an attachment rather than, and that's why, the behaviors are different. If I go to, let's say, ChatGPT, and let's start as a new one. Okay, so this one looks like, let's try ChatGPT. I think it's pretty fast. Okay, I need to go on the top. Okay, so what will they say is summarize the key learning from this paper. All right, key learning from this paper, and create a concept learning diagram. Okay, and then it's a little bit of give space, and then it's always some best practices. You'll figure these out as you learn. Here is the draft text, and then you usually put a kind of a column, so the model knows where my draft text is starting, and then it does kind of mix and match. Because see, end of the day, it's all going into that context window, and if you do a bad job of giving the structuring the prompt, LLM will also be kind of the confused and will not do a good job. It's saying too long. Let me do one thing. I'll cut down these indexes and whatnot, and then it should work for us. Okay. So I think still pretty big. Okay, let's see. You know what? Let me show you. I think there's a better way. How many of you have played with the Notebook LM? Because there, the context window is 1 million token. So what I'll do is let's talk about the Notebook LM. Okay, create a new one, and I'll upload the file. This was the paper. Okay, 935. Okay, it's the same thing, but this is even a better tool. I mean, I should have tried this before. And I'll show you the couple of, from learning standpoint, when we are reading a paper or when you're watching, let's say, 3-hour video, you can really condense that learning very, very fast, and then see that, okay, what are the kind of the core ideas here? So without doing anything, you go to, this is, by the way, free tool for the most part. You create a new notebook, add your sources. You can have different type of sources, PDF file, video. Let's say if I want to researching about a particular thing, I can add those, the slides or video. Let's say if I have a video on this topic, you bring all your sources, and then right away, a couple of things are ready for me to start learning. I can see what is the summary here. And the two features that I really use very often is, let's say, frequently asked question. If I click this one, within a few seconds, it will create all the frequently asked questions from this large PDF file. And this is, whenever it happens, I mean, let's say this is, I feel like, hey, this is the magic of AI. Because now from that 100-page PDF, within a few seconds, I can start to hey, when you say frequently asked questions, these are the core ideas from the paper, right? So you can say, or just start reading how fast I can, and then you go deep. See, this learning has no end. Ultimately, if I'm really passionate about this topic, I'll read the entire paper end to end. But then to see whether this is relevant and then to work I do or not, I'll basically start, at this level. So if I come back, if you want to create let's say, briefing doc or a summary, so you can click on briefing doc. So basically, end of the days, these are pre-created prompts, right? And then they available as your button. You click on this, and then here's my briefing summary, the key themes from the entire paper. And here, look at this one: most important ideas and fact. It saves me, if you're learning, it saves you I think so much time. And then so use this. I think another great tool in the toolkit when it comes down to learning. You can also one feature that was super popular is the audio. You can create a audio file of this one. Think of this as a podcast, and if you say generate, then it will take the key concept from this paper, and it will have the two AI person talking to each other and then discussing that topic. And as I said, I'm an auditory learner. So what I'll do is, after this class, I have to take my son to soccer, and I want to learn about this one. What I'll do is I'll say generate, and when I'm there, the game hasn't started, I'll just consume this information. So become a learning machine. Become a learning machine on the go. Make it kind of, do this thing CG and then consume it. And then what you realize is, over a period of 2, 3, 4 months, you'll be like, oh, now I have learned a lot. These things will start to make more and more sense to you. Okay. All right. Let me take a pause and see if you guys have questions or anything around, like, does it make sense? Some of these, these buckets of learning ideas, or we looked at these 2, 3 examples, why it is important to start mastering the skill of asking good questions and then seeing if that result is helpful or not. And then, right. And this, I'll convert this into a framework. These are kind of rough thoughts I have. How do we learn faster about a particular topic? Be intentional, and at least, don't worry about what I want to learn in 5 years. As long as you have more focus, like I'll pretty much look at kind of week by week these days. What's pressing need for the work I do? What topic is, let's say, problem you're trying to solve? So I just kind of learn about that. Okay. And that way, you follow some people. That's another tip I have is, whenever, I go to my social media feed, I'm like, I don't want algorithm to control what it shows it to me. I just want what I want to see. And I continue to refine that, what shows up in my feed. And then what that ultimately it comes down to is, for every subject, you want to learn, find out who are the 4 or 5 people, just follow them, and only maybe, let's say in Twitter, I use list quite a lot. So if I show you quickly how I use Twitter, I use this list functionality. Okay. And then there's 2 or 3 topics that I'm passionate about. Twitter has so much noise. It's like so much negativity out there, and I don't care about it. I don't even go to my main feed. I'm interested about AI. I'm interested about longevity, my long-term health, and I want to stay motivated. So that's kind of 2, 3 things, the limited desires I have. So that's how I control what comes to me. And that way you find the right people, you will learn more. Do the same thing in LinkedIn. And then I'm a fan of newsletter as well. I think I was creating one slide. Maybe it's not ready, but I'll show you. This may be more of a homework. I'll come back to this. But some of the good, high quality learning resources, you need to figure those out. And then just basically consume that piece and save your brain's context window, right? Because see, here's I think what we saw, right? In my example, we put too much, and now AI is saying, "Hey, I can't handle this." Our brain has the same problem as well. If you feed it too much, it'll get tired. So it's the same thing. You want your brain context window with the things that you want to learn, the things that motivate you, things that energize you, and then cut out all the, BS around. Everything outside is noise. Okay. So let's we have 10, 15 more minutes. Let's see. I'll show you. How many of you use, let's say, I think in the last class, we started to talk about some of these, the same model capability, but if you use them on mobile phone, the multimodality experience is much, much better. Okay. I think in the last class, I was like, hey, if you open Grok and you start to talk, I remember, right, the voice experience. But let's take a look at the example of learning. Okay. So you guys see my phone. Okay. So what we will do is, let's say, let me launch. We'll try ChatGPT. Okay. So I'm opening ChatGPT, and in this one, there's, I can talk to it. It can transcribe. But one feature when you are specifically learning, let's say, or reading a book or in a topic, you can just point your camera to it and then just like, hey, what is this? Can you teach about me? Okay. So let's see it in action. So what I'll do is I turn on the camera, and if this is the book, I'll point the book into it, and let's see. Hello, what do you see?
I see the book Do It Today by Darius Faroo. If you'd like more information about its contents or key points, feel free to ask.
All right. AI is not lying. This is the book, but let's see how would I learn this, right? Let's say this book my wife is reading, and okay. So what's the core concept of the book? I haven't read it yet.
The core concept of Do It Today is about overcoming procrastination, improving productivity, and achieving more meaningful accomplishments. It provides practical strategies and insights to help readers take action and make the most of their time. If you'd like to know more details, just let me know.
Yeah, I think that's too high level. Can you give something from the book that I can apply right away?
Sure. One practical tip from the book is to break tasks into smaller, manageable steps and tackle them one at a time. This approach reduces the feeling of being...
Okay, so I'll pause here. I think now you can think of your surrounding, what you are learning, what you're seeing. I think, that's the power is in your hand, and it's what stops you. It's just your curiosity to learn and find the interesting topic. Think for which problems now we can kind of solve. So I'll show you one slide that I was kind of building, and so this idea of, because I get this question often, like there's two schools of thought. One is the work that all of us are doing, right? The work that you do, and then what AI can do. AI can do a lot, but still there are a lot of things it is still bad at, and or right not usable or high quality, and that's where you will see a lot of debate. One article you will read and it's like, hey, the AI has changed the world. Next article in your feed will say the AI is a crap. It's not meeting my business value or whatever. And I'm like, what's going on? And that's where I think the way that I kind of think about this is, let's see where AI can do really good job. Okay, so if you look into this diagram, and this I'm already doing good, right? And of course, if I can automate, I'll automate those steps. But think of the problem that are not solved until now, or they were hard, or they were time consuming, or right? Examples like in healthcare and medicine and all. So that's where I think there is the biggest opportunity now. And if you focus in there, let's say coming back to our topic today, learning how to learn fast. Now, we know now it can, AI can hear, it can see, it cannot sense yet, like don't have smell, but just it can write it. If you use those, and then right, the example of consuming content in your in your personalized way. How do you learn? And then concise it, make mental map, create diagrams, explain topic. And I think as you go through kind of a rat hole of learning, and no matter what complex the topic is or how big the problem is, this AI can help solve it for you to a large extent, or actually at least as a brainstorming engine or a thought partner. Okay, so it's like, don't go too kind of in here. Hey, I want to. If this is I'm already doing, I'm scared it will do my job. There's so many things that I'm not doing. Can I use it there? Okay, just as an example. So let's pick one more area from, right? So what I'm showing in here is, let's say these 4 buckets, and then within those 4 buckets, how many of you do in this group write code? Give me a thumbs up, or at least maybe not write actively, understand code. Any thumbs up? Vijay, okay. So few of you. There's a bunch of, I think, the tools that we have. So for example, I think I was showing Replit is a great one. Bolt, I started to loving it more. This can now a little bit of design it for you as well. Another one is, I would say, V0. If you look at V0 AI by Versal, most of these tool solutions, they start with this conversational interface, and they give you some examples, and then. But I think this V0 is getting a lot of love from community now because it took the design approach to these software development and design, kind of bringing design and development together. We talked about Cursor, I think, earlier. So yeah, so now I think the reason I'm showing this slide is, if this is, let's say, is important to you for your job, then you need to go deep into this one and use one of these tools and then see how much productivity improvement it can do it for you. For me, number 2 is where I'm spending most of my time. And we'll talk about it more in the future. Content generation, we saw a bunch of examples. I think this to me is more horizontal and applicable to everybody, no matter, you're writing email or writing proposals or and both creating audio, video. I think super helpful for people who are into sales, marketing, that kind of role. I think it's there. It's even more powerful. This prompt engineering is also horizontal skill. Everybody needs to master. Automation. I think there's so many tools in here. I know Balaji, you are here, so I'll put Composio as well. So another great tool that bring together or make this agentic workflow talk to each other, right? And I think this week, surprisingly, there is Anthropic has this open source framework. I'll go a little bit of geeky here, if you enjoy, for 30 seconds. So Anthropic has this MCP protocol, or open source. It's modal context. Because what happens if this AI starts to talk to each other? We want them to talk to each other, but they don't talk to each other. And then what is needed to make that happen? And I think in the last 1 or 2 weeks, there's a lot of momentum going around. Anthropic put this out. It was out from, I think, few months, but now I think people are reaching to a state where, hey, I want my service agents to talk to sales agent, to marketing agent, and others. So this is my favorite topic. I'll dedicate one session on that. Writing, improve writing. I think that's. I make a lot of typos and terrible writer, but I use now. It helps me. Let's talk about maybe 2 minutes the community and engagement. Right, this bucket. So one is, I think, you need to figure out a way when you are learning. You need to figure out a way. How do you share it with others? Whether you share it with your family or friend, and then or just write about it, or even just your personal blog or just your own WhatsApp group. Only you are in there, but write it and send it to yourself. To me, I think that exercise is super helpful in organizing your own thoughts, in organize like how you will tell it to anybody else. I learned about this thing. Let's say, for example, I'll highly encourage if one of you can take the challenge of summarizing today's session and then send it to me, or if you're want to share it LinkedIn or another, that's even better. But unless you do that exercise, I think learning is not complete in my view. You have to either write it or discuss it with somebody, or and we learn more when we do that kind of let's say, if I show you the one model that I use, is like one of the reason I'm teaching this class is it's helping me as well. It's a little bit of my personal the gaps that I have in learning, and it pushes me to look at those gaps. And now we will go into Q&A. You might ask a hard question I don't know, and I'm like, okay, I need to learn that piece. I've been sharing some a little bit of more active on LinkedIn from last 6-7 months, and the idea is same. I want to learn, I want to share, and now my learning is even much faster. Recently, I started a newsletter. It's the same, right? Because now I have these the little bit of vague understanding. Can I compose my learning into a single tweet, right? 280 characters. That's very hard. But if you do it more and more, and I think it becomes easier. So let me, I think, give you a kind of sneak peek of what we will cover next week. We'll cover a little bit of automation. Not sure if I'll go into agents. Agents will be follow on. I'll show you how do you do your inventory of your calendar and your own kind of work that you do, and figure it out what are the areas you can start to automate using this tool set to save time for you and to make more productive. And then probably I will look into which tool set that are there for your kind of consumer side of task and for enterprise side of task. We have 5 minutes left. Let's go into some Q&A. And the homework for you is summarize the learning from today or anything else that you have learned during the week. Okay? So let's, I'll stop the sharing. All right, time for some questions. Anything that was challenged some of my, or is like, hey, different perspective that you may have, anything that may have helped you in learning. So unmute yourself and please ask.
Hey, you talked about Notebook LLM.
Yeah.
And it gave you a FAQ at the end of the day.
Right.
It also gives you, you can also take the video of this recording and give you a summary as well. But Notebook LLM does sometimes have some kind of, adds its own detail to it. Does it do by more researching, or just is a source limited to only that video?
Yeah, Notebook LM is pretty much what sources you add, and then because see, behind the scene they use Gemini, right? Mm-hmm. So what Gemini knows, and then only those sources. But the main, I would say, the value prop of Notebook is the source, the grounded responses, the data that comes from the sources that you have. I think it's less hallucinating compared to others. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't go to internet and search it for you, and unless you maybe explicitly ask, and I do it for you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, quickly. Hi, Manjeet. Thank you so much. It's an amazing session. I think this is one of the best AI learning I have got until date. One question is, like every week we are talking about there is a new LLM, which is a highlight in the market and whatnot. How do you keep sanity around it? How do you keep learning and ignore some but pick some others?
Yeah, so I think now as of this month, let's say, for example, right, go to any of those, let's say ChatGPT or Claude, and then just use the default one. I would say, let me simplify it for you. Don't even have to worry about to change it, because all these, Series 4 model now, 3.7 or all, like if you're doing a task and if it is not giving you the results, then you go and search for, hey, what's the another better alternative, right? But otherwise, for writing, for creation image and all that is, I think GPT-4 is good enough for 80% of the task. Yeah, so I mean, I do read about when these things come, or, yesterday, I mean, like when I wake up today morning, there is like, hey, another DeepSeek type Manusha, there's AI, people are posting them. I look at this and I'm like, I mean, yeah, it looks like, unnecessary hype for now. And then, but if I have a specific use case that, catches my eye, then I'll maybe probably spend time on that.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. What else? Are you guys finding it helpful? By the way, it's very unstructured. I mean, I spend this 30 minutes on Saturday to put together some of these, and then so give some feedback. It's just like, okay, a little bit of how I use it, but I think take the homework from today seriously. Share. Discuss this, because that's the best way to learn.
Hi, Manjeet. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So I want to know if you use any Excel AI or anything that can help with formatting Excel.
Yeah, so Excel, I mean, all these tools are now pretty good at the spreadsheet type formatting. My best use case is when I have a lot of data, let's say an Excel file, I use it to understand the data, like, hey, create chart for me, or like, let's say if I have 1,000 rows and there's a lot of numbers in there, it can easily create those kind of the chart and analytics on the top. That's my best use case. But I don't know if your question is more around, hey, Excel has a lot of those formulas, and then, pivot table, and then how should I learn Excel? If that's one, then yeah, I mean, these models can teach you that one as quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Balaji.
Hey, Manjeet. Glad to see you in this mode, teacher mode. By the way, this is really fascinating. Really good job on this one. One additional thing that I would actually throw out there is, you're going to watch a soccer match with your kid.
Yeah.
We are actually getting educated on AI by you. It's like a soccer match here as well. Thank you.
All right. No, thank you. Appreciate. Thanks, everyone. Hey, I'm a fitness coach as well, so which means that this homework I'm giving you, you need to take it seriously. I'll ask it next week. Okay. All right. Stay healthy, drink more water, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Manjeet. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.